And for the next speaker, I would like to introduce, can we swap it to the computer, please? For the next speaker, I would like to introduce Dr. Richard Fletcher. And he is an amazing individual who's going to talk to us about detecting infection in wounds using smell. And Rich and I have a long history together. Our trajectories are sort of parallel. He was the first person I actually met and spoke to when I came to MIT 18 years ago, and he advised me to come to the Media Lab and other places. And I've been super lucky to have him as a friend and also as somebody to talk to and understand better about where these technologies are going. His work has always been very interesting to me, and we kind of, without really communicating on purpose, we sort of step in the same places, and we feel that olfaction is important, plants are important, mushrooms are important, public health is important, and he has a really, truly fantastic track record of delivering and deploying these things in the field, including in underprivileged communities. And please welcome Dr. Rich Fletcher.
Is this micro?
Yeah, that works. But they don't want you to grab it. Apparently, that's the distance at which it works.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you, Andreas, for the generous introduction. My research extends in the area of public health and mental health using technologies and primarily mobile technologies. So in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and start. The primary problem motivating this is infection, and in the context of developed countries, infection is primarily an issue of cost. So not too many people die of an infection, although there is some percentage. But it's primarily an issue of cost, both for the patient and also for the hospital. The hospital loses money if there's a readmission. If you have a procedure and let's say your knee replacement gets infected, then you have to go back to the hospital. In developing countries, the problem is more severe. So I do a lot of work in global health. And in global health, there's a problem of sanitation and resources. So people can't always take care of their wounds. So infections often happen in places where there are no doctors to inspect your wounds or verify that there is an infection. And if you don't get that treated in time, it could be deadly. And oftentimes it's one of the leading causes of maternal mortality for example, in Rwanda for women who have C-sections. And there's over half of the surgeries in Rwanda are C-sections, C-section births. So, and the other important thing here is that for treatment, if you can't verify if there's an infection or not, people just prophylactically give antibiotics, right? So you give antibiotics whether you know there's an infection or not, and that leads to antimicrobial resistance. So having a tool to verify and identify infections would be really important in both of these applications. So what we investigated in Arte, we looked at a few different possible tools. So the first was looking at an image and then applying machine learning. An image just using the phone because the phone is ubiquitous. So we did an NIH study, and this in collaboration with a PI at Harvard. And approximately 500 and almost 600 patients. And we gave health workers a mobile tablet that took pictures of women with C-section wounds in their home, and then we applied machine learning to those images to see what we can detect. So we use a technique called transfer learning, which some of you may know. The particular model we chose was ResNet 50, which had a nice balance of not being too big or take too long to train. And we did a variety of processing to the standard things to sort of make sure we address class imbalance and make it as generalizable as possible. But we got, just using the color RGB images from the phone, we got decent accuracy, in the mid 80%. And then we had another idea because you might imagine that there's a problem with AI bias related to the skin color, right? So if we want, this worked very well in Rwanda, but if we wanted to apply it to another population with maybe a slightly different skin color patients, or maybe the patients aren't so homogeneous, there could be problems with bias. So we then switched to using thermal images because we thought that's independent of skin color. So we use a mobile phone thermal camera attachment, which you can buy for roughly $200. And these are what the sample images look like here, both the visible image and a sample thermal image. And after doing some processing and also applying transfer learning, we actually got, we were surprised to see that it performed better, and we got 90% accuracy. So that's good, but we're always looking to see, you know, can we do better? So this is sort of the summary of the results using imaging. So now the question is, you know, what is next? And we know that olfaction is useful in inspecting wounds. We know that an infected wound has a particular smell. So we know that this is a strong signal that should be detectable. And that's a direction that we're currently, you know, investigating. Our group has made a mobile phone attachment to detect gases. So this is a picture of it. It's an electrochemical cell, and it plugs in, and it's powered directly by the phone. So you don't need extra batteries. So that's the direction we're moving in, but I just want to flag this as a very low-hanging fruit for olfaction research and infection detection in general as an important problem that we should be investigating. So, and I also want to say in conclusion that combining a smartphone and olfaction in global health would be really revolutionary. It would be, you know, infection is a low-hanging fruit, but it could obviously be applied to many other disease diagnostic applications for screening and diagnosing diseases in global health. I think I will end there and give acknowledgement to my students as well as our clinical partners both at Harvard and in Rwanda. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, questions for Rich? Oh, good, this works. Any questions for Dr. Fletcher? Yes, Ilya.
Yes, thank you for your talk. I just had a quick question. Did you look to see kind of what features the neural networks were actually picking up, like when they were looking at either the thermal imaging or the visible spectrum imaging, what specific features of wounds they were kind of picking up to, you know, say whether they were infected or not?
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. We've been, over the past year, we've been doing what's called a saliency map and applying different techniques, looking at, trying to see where on the wound the signal is coming from. And we have a publication that's currently under review on that. But in general, it's right. The visible image, it's more like where the seam is, the seam of the wound. But on the thermal one, it's a little bit bigger, a bigger area. So we think it's a general temperature profile that's unique. But it is coming from the wound, and yeah, there haven't been any surprises.
One more question here.
Hi, my name is Laura Bankova. I'm a physician giving a talk a little later about COVID anosmia. So I had one question. One of the very unique features of COVID persistent anosmia is that people can't smell body odors. Have you considered trying using your technique to figure out why it is exactly, I mean, I know that it's like super far off, but why is it exactly that this particular sense of smell might be affected in this population?
That's more of a neuroscience question. I can't comment on. I mean, I think Dr. Simi Foster would probably be the right person.
I don't know.
But we have used thermal imaging to identify COVID patients, but understanding how COVID affects smell is really outside of my domain. Sorry.
Thank you very much. My question is, do both of these methods of detection, whether it be thermal or olfaction, have to be mutually exclusive, or can you have one device that's able to do both and maybe give you a better idea?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, as is done with many health diagnostics, we take multiple measurements, and we have a Bayesian algorithm that combines these multiple data in a probabilistic way to give you an overall probability of the condition being true. So yeah, we would love to combine as many measurements as we can, because we get higher probability, higher accuracy.
Thank you.
question, and then we go to our next speaker. I think that one doesn't work.
I keep asking questions, but have you been able to identify the type of odor or smell that comes from someone who has an infection? Or what parameters have you been able to identify?
The mobile device that I showed, it was originally developed to do breath analysis, and in particular, we're looking at nitric oxide because in your exhaled breath, when you have a nitric oxide, it's sort of a biomarker for inflammation. So we have not yet investigated the specific outgassing from wounds, but stay tuned. I'll have more on that probably next year. Thank you.
Thank you.